Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Jim Seiler along with Doug Miller, Rob Bailey down on the field. Fairview is 4-1 on the season, and they are also 2-1 in the conference.
As a sophomore, I'd actually broken our school record for tackles in a single season. Sports was a big part of my life. I had played football from the youngest age possible. We just finished my sophomore year of high school. I remember getting a phone call from my friend asking if we'd be interested in coming to work that night at the factory that his dad owned uptown. It was me and my twin brother Chris and my good friend Keenan, and we were operating what's called a 500-ton power press. So it's just a huge machine used to stamp automotive parts.
I was at the very end of the line of that press, and I was taking the parts out, putting them in a box. So I'd take them out and set them down with my back to the press.
One of us would put a piece in, and the other one would press the button and it would come down.
It was a little after like 2 o'clock in the morning where we hand transferred the sheet metal, and one of the parts wasn't quite aligned right, it was cockeyed, and I instinctively reached back in to adjust it.
I turned to the side, pressed the buttons, and I remember like a split second before I heard a reaction from Brad. I almost remember like out of the corner of my eye, kind of like seeing him like too close to the machine.
I remember hearing Brad scream, and he just ran off the platform.
It was sort of this panicky feel kind of come up within me then, thinking, what just happened? Like, how did that happen? I need help. And I decided I need to look down to see how bad this really is. And when I looked down, I saw that half my hand was missing. The index finger was literally just like hanging on by some skin. It was just like dangling down. As I looked over to my right-hand side, my arm was literally half gone. About 4 inches below the elbow is what remained.
He pretty much understood he needed to get to the hospital immediately. Keenan and I were left there at that point, just kind of looking at each other, not sure what to do.
I have vivid memories of me and Chris going into the office area of the factory and talking to the hospital. They said they knew it was going to be tough, but if we could go out to the machine, go out to the press where this happened and just see if there was anything that could still be salvaged.
There was a lot of flesh that was still in the machine. I could tell it wasn't really going to be of much use at that point.
The phone call was in the middle of the night. You know, that's one of those things you don't want to get. It was bad.
Definitely one of the lowest moments of our lives. Everything was different. Everything had changed.
I think I can remember taking some of the sports equipment out of the room because I thought, you know, he's going to see that, especially his ball glove, he's going to see that, and you don't have a hand anymore to put in it.
For the first couple weeks, he didn't do anything but lay there and moan.
I was even saying to myself, I'm never going to play sports again. I'm never going to play sports again.
After the accident, when he wasn't there, it was kind of a hole there. You could sense that he was on the sidelines, but he wasn't out on the field.
My emphasis with Brad is, okay, as soon as you're ready, let's get back to it.
So when I felt up to it, my mom took me out to practice. There was a water bottle sitting at my coach's feet at the end of practice, and I was getting thirsty.
He asked, hey, I need a drink. I said, so?
He says, if you're thirsty enough, you'll find a way.
If he wouldn't have been able to do it, I would have been the first one there to get it for him. But it was really kind of funny watching him because we just said, if you want it, you get it.
Well, wait a second, I can do that. I'll show you, right? So I jumped down on my knees, picked the water bottle between my arms, I lift it up, I have to change the angle to get it right for my mouth, and pull the cap and squeeze, and water never tasted so good.
We were just thoroughly amazed at what he was able to do.
He offered me to be a kicker, so I was not anticipating some big challenge.
The progress was quick and at times comical during his transition from linebacker to kicker.
I snapped the ball back to Chris, his twin brother, who was holding for him, and Brad kicked, and I didn't even see it coming. It hit me right inside the face.
I knew from that first kick, I'm not going to be a kicker.
He's not a natural kicker by any means.
It's just, he was terrible.
I finally got an opportunity to kick in a game. So I jog out there, and we get everything lined up, so it's a good snap, it's a good hold, and I kick through the ball. I totally miss it. But the coaches never gave up on me. We went back to practice, started kicking again. We're going to get better. We're going to make this happen.
Number 34 now, that's Brad Hurtig's going to be trying for the point after. And it won't be any good, of course.
I finally make it. And coach gives me a big hug, and I honestly don't even know if he said good job to me or congrats. What he actually said to me is, you're done kicking.
He was a middle linebacker, and before and after, that's just the mentality he had, that's just the ability he had.
When he came back put on the pads and was actually playing linebacker, that it was kind of getting back to what it used to be, kind of whole again.
No prosthetic, when he got them, was legal because they were metal, and you can't do that. They just wrapped it with a foam, and then it was just ace bandages around it and then athletic tape around it. And that's what he ended up playing with most of the time.
1, 2, 3, family!
I remember going to the hospital and seeing him, and now he's out here, participating again.
It was the last game of the season. The guy was open field, had the end zone in sight. And so I run from the middle field and I make this open field tackle.
And it was in front of our bench. It's like we just won state championship.
And our fans saw it as well, and and erupted with, yeah, Brad's back.
The number of tackles he had was just amazing. And so many of his tackles were him being ran over. He would get in front of the guy and put what was left of his arms around the guy, and the guy tripped over because he couldn't hit, wrap, and drive, but he just got in their way. And for him to get 111 tackles is just amazing with arms and more amazing without arms.
Every time I was around him, it kind of eased my guilt. He had no blame towards me, and that it wasn't my fault. It could have put a lot of weaker people in a bad place for their entire life, and I think he took it and just kind of totally flipped it around.
And his inspiration is, you got to change, but that doesn't mean you can't be less successful. You just got to do something different. You've got to step up.
I knew that his story was something worth telling, and so we had an opportunity to team up together and do some speaking.
And I remember literally telling God, I'm never going to be in front of people. I know that'll never be my call. I can't do it. I never will do that.
I so desperately wanted to go back and just change that one decision. But I couldn't.
I've seen some of his school assemblies that he's done. It's impressed me.
He goes around to a lot of schools and just kind of shares his story. He does a lot of stuff for the church back where we're both from, a lot of stuff with the youth. From the moment this happened, he just used it as kind of an opportunity to strengthen his faith, definitely. I know for sure he had moments of really being down, but you never would have known that.
He was able to decide not to become a person who would go through life bitter and angry. He chose not to despair over his tragedy.
His handling of it was a blessing to us. He took something that could have really been awful and turned it into a positive.
I am always amazed by his beautiful spirit, his beautiful generosity, his compassion.
He's changing a lot of people's lives because of the story he's telling. He's just Brad.